Come and read more of my works on the website under sick and coquettish boss+run. After teasing, Qiao Sheng, with a stunning appearance and a seductive figure, is a famous taskmaster in the specialized system. In order to earn points, he travels through various small worlds and runs away after teasing, leading to the male protagonist becoming a villain. World 1, she hooked her lips and half knelt on the man's lap, her hands wrapped around his neck. Do you love me? How much do you love me? Warm breathing fell in his ear. Later, his eyes turned red and he searched the world for her. Sheng, I love you to the bone. Will you come back? World 2, the man was full of gloom and despair, kneeling on the ground and looking at the woman's cold face. Sheng, can you wake up? I won't shut you down anymore. As long as you can wake up, I'll let go. Okay, he said in the space. Ding Dang looked at the person sitting on the rocking chair, slowly tasting the red wine, and secretly said, how indifferent. World 3, the man holds the woman's waist and shyly says, Sheng, I really like you, I like you. Later, he looked at the note in his hand and ran wildly. Sheng, where are you? Where are you? Male lead slice, diseased and blackened, only for one person, novel keyword. Help. Fishing for beautiful women is great, no pop-ups, help. Fishing for beautiful women who are good at teasing. Download the complete set of TXT, help. Fishing series beauties are good at teasing. The latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Cold CEO and charming wife want to sleep. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Cold CEO and charming wife want to sleep. Qiao Sheng, let's get divorced. Pei Yu pushed the agreement at hand with a very indifferent tone, unable to hear any fluctuations. Pei Yu looked up and saw her sitting opposite him on the sofa, dressed in a black camisole dress with a seductive figure. Her exposed skin was shining white under the light, and her plump waist and slender and straight legs made people want to hold and play with her at a glance. But with just one glance, he regained his senses, with no further movement in his black eyes. Tonight, she seems to be different from before, but it's time for this emotionless marriage between them to come to an end. At the moment he looked at her, Qiao Sheng also turned around and glanced at this strategic target, who was truly unbeatable in appearance. Compared to the people I saw on the Ding Dang profile before, the real person in front of me is still more exciting. Wearing a black suit with legs crossed, the whole person sat there quietly. His black eyes were cold and deep, making it impossible to understand his thoughts. The ascetic atmosphere, indifferent temperament, and divine appearance were truly captivating. At first glance, this man's face and figure are quite appealing to her. An idea popped up in an instant. I want to sleep. As she shuttled through so many planes, the man in front of her indeed had a captivating capital. It seems that the 5,000 points of health earned this time is not a loss. However, divorce. Ha! Let's leave now, conquer him. She also doesn't need this marriage without any emotions. After all, sometimes useless things can be a burden. TSK. How indifferent. Although it's quite generous, it's not uncommon either. Qiao Sheng flipped through the agreement in front of her, which stated that the villa would be gifted to her, and there was also 50 million yuan as compensation. Compensation. Ha! Is there any connection between them? Need compensation. And even though he knew she didn't lack money at all, he still wanted to include these things in the agreement. It was just that he didn't want to have any further involvement with her in the future, and he didn't want her to bother him anymore. Her slightly lowered eyes flickered with a ray of inevitable light, and a hint of playfulness appeared at the corner of her mouth. What a pity. She likes challenging men like Qiao Sheng, and there are no words in her dictionary that cannot be taken down. The rough paper looked so out of place under her delicate hands, and her sarcastic tone gently emanated from her mouth. Pei Yu, who was sitting across from him, couldn't help but frown. Her transformation was quite significant. In the past, she was very silent, almost never saying a word to him. Today seems particularly different. Suddenly, without any hesitation, she signed. Su Zhu beside him looked at the lady in front of him and couldn't help but exclaim, "The CEO's luck is really good, isn't this lady too beautiful? He still divorced someone like this, I really don't understand, I don't understand. If he had such a girlfriend, he wouldn't have spoiled the heavens." The CEO's thoughts are really puzzling. She looked at the agreement on the table, sat on the sofa, poured a glass of red wine, and gently swayed the wine in the glass. The bright red color matched her slightly red lips perfectly. "Is pay you?" "Ha." She took a sip of the red wine lightly, and the bright liquid moistened her red lips, making them delicate and dripping. A light smile came from her mouth, cold-hearted. Abstinence. Interesting. She likes people like this the most who get caught in the fireworks color. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Women are not bad, men do not love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Women are not bad, men do not love. Su Zhu opened his mouth wide from behind, his face full of surprise. He muttered to himself in his heart, "Madam, this is too much of a deal. Isn't it because she likes the CEO that she agreed to get married? How come this is completely invisible? And isn't this a bit too calm? The rumors are really false, they are not credible. Are you still going? Are you planning to celebrate the Chinese New Year here?" Pei Yu stood at the door, emitting a chilly aura, and his indifferent words instantly reached his ear. Lin Zhu snapped back to his senses with a swoop, and followed him with a thud. What a lowly worker. He's the only one working so late, and it's really difficult to endure the boss's cold air. I don't know what kind of person the boss will like just because of his personality. Even the lady doesn't like it, he wouldn't like men, would he? Once this idea arises, it cannot be pulled back. He thinks of spending the longest time with the CEO day and night. He couldn't help but take a few steps back, tidy up his clothes, check them, and cover himself tightly. Standing in front of the car, Pei Yu watched Lin Zhu's strange behavior, and the cold air instantly overflowed. "Do you want to go to Africa to dig coal?" Ha. Lin Zhu shook his head. With this indifferent tone, indifferent expression, and proper capitalism, how could he possibly like him? "I really overthink it. He quickly ran over, opened the car door, and then they flew away. Qiao Sheng went upstairs and looked at the car that had already been hidden in the darkness, with a casual smile on his lips. Drip. It has been detected that Pei Yu is heading to the night bar. Oh. Since that's the case, why not go play? Women are not bad, men don't love them. Ha. TSK. It really doesn't fit my style. Qiao Sheng looked at the uniform white long dress in the wardrobe and couldn't help but furrow her brows. She took out a white floral dress with a waistband, and the ordinary square collar revealed her beautiful swan neck. The exquisite butterfly-shaped collarbone was visible. At a glance, the whole person exudes a fairy-like aura, and the enchanting temperament on the body is not only not concealed, but also stronger, giving people a feeling of being like a fairy or a demon. In the bar, the night scene is exceptionally eerie, with strong drum beats and a noisy environment, where enchanting women and crazy men are dancing their bodies. Qiao Sheng walked in a white dress, like a goddess descending into a dark abyss, eye-catching and captivating. At this moment, the people in the bar showed great interest in the sudden goddess, and their eyes moved with her figure. Detected that Pei Yu is in the private room on the second floor. Qiao Sheng looked around lightly and walked straight to the bar, without intending to go to the second floor. "Little brother, can I have the strongest wine here?" Qiao Sheng's voice was very captivating, with a casual smile flickering in his black eyes, and the beautiful mole at the end of his eyes looked particularly seductive. "Miss, the strongest wine hurts the body. How about a mild glass of wine?" The bartender, with a serious expression on his face, looked grandiose and couldn't help but care about the divine expression in front of him. "Oh. You care about me. But I just want to drink the strongest wine, especially if you mix it yourself. What should I do?" Xiao Jingtai's ears turned red as soon as she heard the seductive sound. Qiao Sheng's red lips curled slightly, and a playful smile slowly bloomed at the corner of his mouth. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Little brother, are you adult? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Little brother, are you adult? I'll adjust it for you right away, you can drink this first. His ears turned even more red against the teasing gaze, and there was even a faint tendency to extend towards his face. His voice even stuttered a bit. Qiao Sheng looked at this innocent young lady, and his smile grew even more intense. She picked up the wine glass in her hand and gently shook it, causing the dark golden liquid inside to fluctuate gently. She took a soft sip, and the faint taste was a bit sweet, like fruit wine. She couldn't help but smile. This young lady is quite good at taking care of people, The night is so boring, teasing him is also quite fun. Also, by the way, think about how to get that dog man hooked. Under the colorful lights, she supported her chin with her hand and looked at him quietly. His technique was very skilled and sharp. His slender fingers skillfully grasped the silver spoon and quickly stirred the ice in the cup, but made no sound. He slowly and evenly poured the prepared dark red wine into the glass, and the whole process was very pleasing to the eye. "Miss, the wine is ready, you can taste it slowly. It's really strong." He also saw such a beautiful person for the first time in a bar, and every move she made was criticizing his heart. Every conversation he had, he couldn't help but feel shy. She picked up her wine glass and gently sniffed it at the tip of her nose. A refreshing aroma hit her face, and she took a sip. The sweet taste mixed with a hint of strength left a lasting impression, making it a strong liquor. Immediately, she drank it all in one gulp. Xiao Zheng was too eager to stop, but it was already too late. At this moment, her eyes were slightly blurred, her fair skin revealed a slight redness, and her cherry-like red lips appeared even more alluring. She lifted her thin lips lightly and said, "Not bad, it suits my heart very well." "Thank you, little brother. Has he grown up yet? What is his name, However, can you make me another glass, little brother?" A pair of phoenix eyes stared at him like that, and his voice was both lazy and charming. His heart couldn't help but thump and stutter as he said, My name is Shenlin, and I am already of age. I have reached the legal age for marriage." Speaking later, his voice became quieter and his face became redder. In an instant, his voice grew louder again, "Well, you can't drink it anymore. That wine is very strong." This small appearance gives Qiao Sheng a feeling of being a petite wife. She chuckled lightly and leaned forward a bit, looking at him with a playful expression on her face. "Oh. So, Shenlin is already so old that he can get married now. However, I still want to drink the wine mixed by Shenlin, what should I do?" The sound of Shenlin, little brother, exploded in his mind, and as he looked at his divine face, which was only a few moments away from him, the ambiguous atmosphere kept circulating between the two of them. When Qiao Sheng stepped back a bit, picked up his empty glass and shook it, looking at him with a playful expression, he suddenly regained his senses. "I'll adjust it right away and change it for you. It tastes good too. I hope you'll like it." His nervousness instantly escalated and he accidentally knocked over a nearby wine glass. The blue liquid slowly flowed out like his true feelings, and he quickly wiped and organized it. Qiao Sheng watched his movements quietly, his eyes narrowed slightly, and slowly looked around the entire bar. Sure enough, this is the place where nature is truly indulged, and people of all kinds gather here. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Unscrupulous Freezer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Unscrupulous Freezer. Miss, try this wine. It's called Red Beauty, and as a gift to a beautiful woman, it's also a gift to someone who is moved by her heart facing the person who moves him. Shenlin just wants to firmly grasp it. Qiao Sheng didn't pay any attention to his hopeful gaze. With a curl of her red lips, she picked up the glass and started drinking. The bright liquid gradually entered her mouth. Indeed, the Red Beauty has a heart-stirring feeling, while the strong liquor enters the throat but has a sweet feeling. Unfortunately, how can an unintentional person have a heart-stirring feeling? Host, the time has come. She lightly curled her lips, propped her right hand slightly against her profile, and tapped the bar with her left hand. With charming eyes and a teasing expression on his face, he looked at the person in front of him and said, "Shenlin, do you want to listen to music? Do you like dancing?" She chuckled lightly and walked straight towards the stage without waiting for Shenlin's answer. Her white dress was already out of place and very eye-catching. At this moment, she stepped onto the stage and all her eyes immediately focused on her. As soon as she appeared, everyone automatically made way for her. She took the stage to communicate with the singer and then picked up the microphone to sing. "Break down you might be long, and you know you saying to go. You don't know I love you so, breaking down you trying to go, I can't go down to Seoul." Under her cold voice, every word appeared particularly ethereal and distant. Unconsciously captivating, but there is a hint of sadness in that unique voice that resonates with people. "Ah. I'm dead again, this is already the 5th time. Isn't this a bar? Who is it? Coming here at night to sing such a sad song, intentionally. I'm going to see who's so sad at night, ruining my good mood." Wu Bei grabbed his hair with his hand, his face full of impatience. His black hair was mixed with a few strands of golden yellow, and the blue earrings on his earbones flickered abnormally under the light. His eyes were rebellious, and looking at the game interface in his hand, he felt a cannibalistic heart. Saying that the wind is rain, he walked out with a fierce aura. In the private room, the others remained unmoved, as if they had already become accustomed to his sudden sand-carving behavior. They all knew that it must be because he was too incompetent, his skills were not as good as human, and he had to blame others. They don't expose him either, he won't do anything anyway. He stood upstairs, looking at the singing people below, his eyes widened, and he even stretched his neck to take a closer look. It took several seconds for him to accept this fact. "Isn't this Miss Qiao from the Qiao family?" "Oh, no, it's sister.in.law. She is widely recognized as a beauty in the industry, but unfortunately she got married early at a young age. At that time, countless people felt sorry for her. After all, Brother Pei is a completely unruly freezer. Is she singing here? What the hell? What kind of trick is this playing? Does Brother Pei know about this? If I knew, would I hit someone? But if I don't tell him, I wouldn't be even worse off, hey. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come out to join the fun." He quickly ran back to the private room and opened the door with a loud and unpleasant sound. "Wu Bei, are you sick? When you see a ghost, don't you know what's going on?" Bai Shi looked at him displeased, with a hint of anger in his black eyes that wanted to kill him. Wu Bei quickly took a sip of wine and suppressed his shock. "Do you know who I saw? Sister-in-law, she's singing below. Hey, don't you mind? The bar is so messy, what if she encounters bad people? I'll go, Qiao Sheng." Bai Shi was also surprised. Upon hearing these words, the person on the sofa didn't show any signs of fluctuation. He turned the black trigger on his thumb, glanced at him, and said coldly, "We're already divorced." This news is even more explosive than just now, it is truly unexpected. End of this chapter. Is Chapter 5 compatible? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. Dog Man. No vision. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Dog Man. No vision. Damn it, this is Qiao Sheng. His combat power is too strong, too handsome. Wu Bei was surprised when he saw this scene, and his eyes lit up with stars. Bai Shi was also watching with great interest, and even clicked a few times, indeed. Pei Yu didn't expect her skills to be so impressive. After all, in his impression, she seemed to have been very silent and a bit afraid of him, almost always far away from him. I'm sorry, ladies. It's your good fortune that the master sees you. If you dare to call me, believe it or not, I'll give you a call to come knocking on your door. The yellow-haired thug finally got up from the ground and pointed at her, still looking arrogant. Qiao Sheng's red lips curled, and under his long eyelashes, a different light flickered in his black eyes. Is it cold? But what if she just wants to provoke him? How's it going? I'm scared, I can't even say anything. The little thug laughed even more when he saw that she didn't answer. Shen Lin placed his hand in front of her and looked at the person who was full of vulgar language. He glared angrily and said, even you deserve Xiao to think of her. Get out. The little thug spat at him and said, even a bartender dares to meddle in my affairs. Are you looking for death? Qiao Sheng gently lifted his arm in front of him, took a few steps forward, stopped in front of the little thug, and sneered, afraid. Even you, a species that doesn't know where you come from, deserve to talk to me or threaten me. Since you're so arrogant, why don't I let you experience extreme sports? When she was speaking, she quickly removed the arm he had just pointed at her with his finger, and then gave him another kick. This time, she kicked him unconscious, indicating that she had used a lot of force. Everyone exclaimed, this fairy lady is so brave. How handsome. Wu Bei gave a thumbs up directly from behind, this strength is amazing. As a result, the next second, husband, why are you here? Did I look handsome just now? I didn't embarrass you, did I? Qiao Sheng pounced on Pei Yu, wrapped his hands around his neck, and asked him coquettishly. Pei Yu instinctively caught her and placed a single bracelet around her waist. Qiao Sheng's strong alcohol smell immediately came towards him. He saw her with blurred eyes and a slightly red face, and immediately realized that she was drunk. He thought of her behavior just now, was it because she was drunk that her explosive power was so strong? But now he doesn't want to dwell on these things, he just wants to quickly get rid of this drunken lunatic. She not only wrapped her arms around his neck, but also tightly hugged him. Warm breathing continued to sprinkle on his neck, and his Adam's apple rolled uncontrollably. Qiao Sheng, do you know who I am? He forcefully parted her hands, his indifferent tone unable to hear any warmth. I know, aren't you the dog man Pei Yu? That tasteless ex-husband, you're the only one who divorced me. I'll make you cry and remarry me sooner or later, humph. Qiao Sheng's tone was filled with anger, but there was a hint of tears in his hazy eyes and a hint of sadness emanating from his body. Pa, she suddenly fell into Pei Yu's arms and fell asleep drunk like that. Her red lips accidentally brushed against his chin, and Pei Yu felt a burning sensation there. He picked her up and glanced at Qiao Sheng's quiet sleeping face, a dog man. No vision. Crying and begging you. Ha. The appearance of being drunk is really surprising. This reversal caught everyone off guard in an instant. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Today is still the first time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Today is still the first time, Wu Bei, handle it. The cold voice was clear in Wu Bei's shocked expression. Pei Gu said it's not his business, right? Didn't it mean divorce? Didn't you say you didn't like it? What is this for? Smash your face. Is it fun? The most important thing is why he always gets hurt every time. It's really unfair. Bai Shi patted his shoulder and said, pack up well. I just ran away from Suzhou without considering his appearance at all. He directly approached the owner of the bar and said, let me tidy up this thug and deal with it somewhere we can't see, okay? With a face full of impatience and disdain, the bar owner naturally knew Wu Bei as well. After all, he was one of the 4 young men in the capital. He quickly nodded and bowed respectfully to agree. Shenlin, your wine has overflowed. What are you thinking? A waiter next to him who was familiar with him touched his arm with a questioning expression on his face. Shenlin quickly regained his senses and hurriedly tidied up the mess. So she already has someone she likes. His mind kept circulating the scene from before, and she eagerly embraced, coquettishly speaking, and giving the man all the seemingly inexplicable sadness on her body. He thought that in the future, he might never be able to be the red beauty of tonight again. The red beauty of tonight is so unique, like a fairy, like a demon, like beauty, like fantasy, like drunkenness, like sweetness. At this moment, Qiao Sheng, the co-pilot, was particularly quiet, resting quietly there. Pei Yu glanced at her and thought of the extreme contrast just now. The corners of his mouth also unconsciously rose, and the faint heat, as well as the unexpected kiss tonight, seemed like feathers lightly brushing over his heart, but left no trace. He sent her back to the villa, and as he carried her upstairs, Aunt Lin walked out and said, "Sir, Madam, Miss Qiao, what's wrong with her?" At first, Aunt Lin didn't get used to this title, and she was also quite sad about their marriage. It's a pity, after all, she can see that the lady really likes her husband, but after all, it's not sweet to stick to it. Drunk, Pei Yu carried her back to the room step by step. He glanced at the room, warm and sweet, but he had never set foot here before, and today was his first time. He gently placed the woman in his arms on the bed and was about to leave when suddenly the woman let out a whimper and pulled him down with a swish. He was caught off guard and pulled down by her. He placed his hand in her ear and looked at his face, which was only a few inches away from him. Her skin was delicate and smooth, and even the fuzz on her face could be seen close by. The warm breath continued to sprinkle on his face. Perhaps he never cared about her. Tonight, upon seeing her, Qiao Sheng was indeed so good-looking and had a heart-wrenching capital. His Adam's apple rolled and he couldn't help but gasp for breath. He quickly broke the hand around his neck and withdrew from her. He walked out quickly, but upon closer inspection, he seemed less calm than usual, his step seemed a bit disorganized, and his stride was very large. He stood in front of the car, tugging at his tie. His eyes were deep and he didn't know what he was thinking. He lit a cigarette, and a faint blue flame flashed across his face. A wisp of white smoke slowly came out of his mouth, and he glanced at the villa hidden in the darkness before leaving. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. What a Seductive Fairy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. What a Seductive Fairy. Qiao Sheng slowly opened his eyes on the bed, and saw a clear black gaze without any hint of drunkenness. She thought of Pei Yu's messy steps just now, and the playful taste on the corner of his mouth kept expanding. She sneered, "Oh. Abstinence. Indifference. With just a little courage, it's not fun, but that face and body can do it." His desire to sleep has expanded even more, after all, he really has an appetite for her. She thought of the dreamy spring she had just given him, which she had spent 100 points redeeming for him. Wishing him a good dream. Do you have no desire? That sister can help him, just as a reward for the generous divorce property he gave. After all, she is not someone who likes to take advantage. The night quietly receded, and the gentle mist slowly dispersed. The faint light slowly broke through the clouds and shone into the room through the gaps in the window, marking the beginning of a new day. Didi, the host's favorability towards the target of the strategy has reached 20%. Please continue to work hard. Oh. The reaction is so big. It seems that these 100 points are not worth it, haha. She stood up and picked up a glass of red wine, sat on the rocking chair and slowly tasted it. It seems that the fish has taken the bait. I just don't know what the fish dreamt of. She casually chuckled, with a playful smile on the corner of her mouth. At this moment, Pei Yu was taking a cold shower in the bathroom. He didn't expect that he had such a ridiculous dream all night last night, and his partner was actually his wife who had just signed a divorce agreement yesterday. In her dream, she was like a seductive fairy, incredibly seductive, with exceptionally seductive eyes. Her thin black camisole dress contrasted perfectly with her fair and tender skin, and she gently lifted his chin. He slowly grabbed her white jade-like wrist with his backhand, and then he slowly kissed the tempting red lips. And so, he bloomed the roses under him into a different color. The cold water slid through his body and finally extinguished the fire in his heart. He sneered and couldn't help but wonder when his self-control was so poor. Is it because I have been abstinent for too long? The object is still my ex-wife who has never felt anything before. What a filthy thought. On this side, on the sofa, Qiao Sheng brushed his phone and glanced at his WeChat and phone, only to realize that there was no contact information for that dog man in his phone. It seems that finding him requires a different approach. Ding dang, can you show me Pei Yu's itinerary for today? Qiao Sheng's tone was calm without any fluctuation. Ding dang received. Testing is underway. Tonight, the Wu family will hold a commercial evening party, and Pei Yu will attend. A mechanical sound slowly entered Qiao Sheng's ear. Qiao Sheng's legs were crossed, and her beautiful lotus feet lightly stepped on the carpet. Qianqian's jade fingers slowly picked up a round and smooth purple grape, and she gently peeled off its outer layer, revealing the full flesh and gently put it into her mouth. The sweet juice quietly bloomed in her mouth, and the sweet and greasy taste made her squint. She was looking forward to meeting tonight. It seems that they haven't publicly divorced yet. Since that's the case, let's temporarily use Mrs. Pei's identity. Pei Yu, she should be looking forward to tonight's surprise. She has prepared a big gift for him. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Bad Brain Licking Dog. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Bad Brain Licking Dog. The night in the imperial capital is always brightly lit, with dazzling lights and colorful neon lights shining together, creating a dazzling and mesmerizing city. Oh ha! Isn't this Mrs. Pei? Why didn't you come with Mr. Pei? It's not like what the outside world says you've divorced long ago, right? A woman dressed in jewels and flashy outfits, but unable to conceal her vulgar taste, was sarcastically mocking. Lon, don't do this. Maybe Brother Pei just didn't happen to be with Miss Qiao. How could he say that? If Brother Pei heard about it, he would be angry. The person wearing a white dress and black hair draped over his shoulder was admonishing the people around him kindly. She quietly watched these two clowns jumping over the beam, and if she guessed right, they were jealous of her. The jealousy all over her was almost fuming. Actually, as soon as Qiao Sheng walked into the banquet, everyone's gaze was focused on you and her. She wore a V-neck red dress, revealing her beautiful swan neck and long, straight legs. Her proud peaks were half naked in front, and her plump waist only needed a grip. Her black wavy curls were quietly scattered behind her, and a gentle glance in her eyes seemed to be able to directly capture a person's soul. The beautiful mole at the corner of her eye was even more enchanting. Her red lips curled, and a hint of playfulness slowly filled the corners of her mouth. As she walked, her domineering aura leaked from her side. It seems that it can make everyone present sincerely convinced and fascinated by her. Qiao Sheng still wondered why high-end things were bouncing around in front of her. It turned out to be these two brainless things, one ugly and stupid, with a foul smell all over her body that made people want to vomit. Another reliable white lotus flower, but also a brainless licking dog who likes others. Why bother conniving at her? What a silence. That one by one, Brother Pei, tsk. I guess Pei Yu doesn't even know her. Since that's the case, then she's not polite. She's worried about not having anything to pass the time, and these two happen to be playing. She shook the red wine in her hand, glanced at them lightly, opened her red lips and said. This clown, oh no. What perfume you use, miss? It's really fuming, and have you noticed that there is a peculiar smell in your mouth? If you talk so close to others, it will smoke me. Can you stand far away? Secondly, I see that your family doesn't live by the seaside, they live in the water. Did your brain swell up after drinking too much water? I still eat too much sea salt and have nothing to do every day. It's so easy. Sun Lan went crazy with anger. Just as she was about to curse, Suyu saw that something was wrong and grabbed her tightly. After all, she didn't want to lose face with this fool in front of so many people. Miss Qiao, although what Lan said earlier was very wrong, you shouldn't scold her like that. Isn't it uncivilized? Suyu looked protective of Sun Lan, but how could Qiao Sheng not see her small details? She sneered, this low-level Miss White Lotus, are you having a brain hole or an ear problem? Didn't you hear her obvious mockery just now? What? I can't fight back in the face of her mockery, and how I talk to her is my own business. It seems like you can't control it. Are you eating too much salt like her, or are you infected with her, have IQ problems, and have a brain hole? In that case, you should go to the hospital and take a good look. Don't delay the best treatment time. If it really can't be cured, then ask if your emotional intelligence can be cured. After all, people who don't judge human behavior are not good, right? Of course, the best advice would definitely be to go to a mental hospital. Hospitalization is the quickest way to receive treatment, isn't it? She had a smile on her face, one hand on her chest, and the other hand slowly swaying the red wine in her hand, standing quietly like a goddess of the world. End of this chapter. Who gave you the courage in chapter 10? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who gave you the courage in chapter 10? Suyu's face turned pale. She didn't expect to see Qiao Sheng for so long. Qiao Sheng, who was once bullied, has now become so articulate, and she dares to humiliate her. Suddenly, she saw Pei Yu walking towards this side and had a plan in her mind. With a pitiful expression on her face, she said, Miss Qiao, how could you humiliate me like this? I'm just trying to make amends for Lan. Sun Lan is also a stupid person. Naturally, she will love her good sisters. She angrily asked Qiao Sheng, what do you mean? How dare you bully Xiao Yu like that? We just told the truth. Pei Yu doesn't like you. Why? Haha. One is as stupid as a pig, and the other is as white as a lotus, it's really the best combination. Little Bailian, you call each other brother Pei, they are so affectionate, but Pei Yu doesn't even know you yet. Still holding on to grievances. If you want to use her, just speak frankly. Why find such a grandiose reason? Are you tired? Anyway, she can't understand either. Why don't you waste your brain capacity thinking about this excuse? After all, intelligence is not enough. And you, who even praises you for being foolish. I guess she believes everything she says. She's really like a thoughtless mollusk. What does my family matter to you? I don't need you to care about whether my relationship with Pei Yu is good or not. Even if we get divorced, I will still be Miss Qiao from the Qiao family. A phone call can easily make your two families bankrupt, so who gave you the courage to provoke me? The two were stunned and almost forgot that her family was also a terrifying existence. But some people are typical of not shedding tears until they see the coffin. Brother Pei, it's all Suyu's fault this time. Don't blame Miss Qiao, she didn't mean to. Suyu's face was soft and weak, and his gaze at Pei Yu was even more pitiful. She just saw Pei Yu and the others standing behind for a long time, and his gaze had been fixed on Qiao Sheng, but he didn't seem to have any intention of helping her either. It seems that their relationship is indeed not good. Since that's the case, her opportunity has come. Get out. Don't disgust me. Little did he know that Pei Yu's notorious indifference was not fake. He detested that kind of gaze and that coquettish voice the most. He didn't even give her a glance, his voice was cold and sharp, and he felt a chill all over, as if he had erected a barrier for himself, afraid of being contaminated by something dirty. These words shattered Su Yu's expectations and humiliated her severely. She looked at him with disbelief, tears gathering in her eyes, as if they would fall in the next second. Seeing this, Sun Lan saw that things were not going well and immediately pulled her away. As she left, Su Yu even gave Qiao Sheng a fierce glare, as if blaming her for all the mistakes. Yo! Xiao Balian, I can't fit it anymore, Qiao Sheng actually knew Pei Yu and the others were behind her long ago, and also knew about Xiao Balian's little tricks, but she just didn't like people jumping around in front of her and liked to tear off these disguised masks with her own hands. She also wanted to see if Pei Yu was worth exploring for herself. He was just being explored, how he loved it. If he had heard of these two things, he would have had a mental illness, low IQ, and poor eyesight. Since that's the case, she doesn't mind spending tens of thousands of points to find a new target for exploration. After all, if you spend money, you can earn it again. She's the happiest when she's satisfied. Fortunately, he hasn't gone blind to that extent yet. End of this chapter.